Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's episode number 197 of the Audible Farm Podcast, and this episode's brought to you by Couchtown Coffee. Couchtown Coffee's roasted right here in Iowa. It's my favorite coffee. I drink it every single day. I quit saying I drink it in the morning. I do drink it in the morning, but I sometimes drink it in the afternoon too. It's delicious. I love it. If you guys like coffee, I highly suggest checking it out. All you got to do is go to couchtowncoffee.com, find a coffee you like, let them know how you want it roasted. They'll ship it directly to your house. It's that easy. It's that awesome. Couchtown Coffee is one of my favorites, so check it out. One of the other cool things about Couchtown Coffee, if you guys do make an order at couchtowncoffee.com, you can save 20%. That's 20% off your coffee. That's basically shipping it for free and then some. So check it out. Just let them know Audible Farm sent you, and they'll take 20% off. Say, hey, boom, I heard you on Audible Farm. I want to try the coffee. Let's give it a whirl. Couchtown Coffee, everybody. They're my favorite. Thanks, Couchtown. This week, I'm sitting down. I'm actually not sitting down with anyone. I'm sitting down alone again. I had an issue trying to schedule some people. Most people were busy this week. I don't know what's going on this week that makes it so busy, but I had a lot of people say they could do podcast next week. So next week, I have like 4,000 scheduled out. No, I'm kidding. I have a few scheduled out for next week. So hopefully it all works out and we'll have a new episode out next week. This week, I'm going to have a replay episode from about 2 years ago when I sat down and talked with Kris Karr. And I can't remember the exact date that I sat down and talked with him. It was roughly around this time, but I can't tell you exactly when it was. But it's crazy to think that it was 2 years ago was the last time I sat down and talked with him. And I've seen him around here and there. I've seen him play a few times. I've actually got the opportunity to play a few songs with him at a couple jam nights randomly when he just kind of shows up. Sometimes he shows up and doesn't play. It's just, he's such an enigma. I think some of it comes down to the fact that he is so busy lately. If you go look at his schedule, it's like, oh, you got 25 shows this month. Okay, that makes sense. And some of them are like two a days, and he's busy man. He's also, I believe, also has like other jobs. So wild stuff going on. I hope to have him back on the podcast again soon. But before we get into that episode, I do want to say that I mean, I thought about saving this for the outro, but I'll just kind of say it here. In the last couple weeks, I've had a giant influx of people messaging me or accounts contacting me trying to say that, like, either my account is not in compliance or whatever on Facebook, mostly on Facebook. So there's also been a giant influx of people getting messages about, like, oh, is this you, or did you see who's in this video, or whatever, those kind of things. And just people, don't click on them. Please don't click on them. You're going to unfortunately probably compromise something. And yeah, I mean, it takes a little bit of digging to see if these things are real or if they're not. But a lot of times you're just like, oh, this came from somebody that I think I know, but it doesn't look like anything they would ever send me. And the link is to, like, abcxyz.net/your face or something like that. And it's like, well, that doesn't seem like, that's not YouTube. So I'm not going to that or whatever. So it just takes a little bit of looking, or like some of these accounts that seem like they might be legit or official accounts are in fact not. You can go there and it's like, well, there's only like 63 people like this page, and it says, like, Facebook application notifications or something. That's like the name of the page. And then you like go to it and it's like, what were the last names of this page? And it's just like, the class of 1997 for, town, who cares, in like Missouri. And it's like, okay, that's weird that somebody like stole a Facebook page and then renamed it and is trying to like scam people now from it. But hey, it's a thing. They're out there. I've gotten a lot of notifications for a lot of different pages, and like I said, I've gotten on my personal page lots and lots of messages about that kind of stuff. So just do your due diligence. Like I said, two-factor authentication. Unfortunately, there's no one to like really contact at a lot of these big companies like Facebook and stuff. So the best you're gonna be able to do would be to just do a little sleuthing on your own and see if you can figure it out. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, ask somebody, if you trust them, be like, hey, I got this message, just screenshot it, send it to them. Do you think it looks legit or whatever? And have somebody else do a little looking for you before you start just clicking on things willy-nilly. And I know there's a few people that have contacted me that, fell victim to a few of these things. And I'm not saying this on the podcast to call you out or to be like, hey, but it's just kind of to warn everyone, because I know it's a thing that's going on out there, and we've talked about it ad nauseum on this podcast, how you need to protect your social medias, because they're basically it's your website, it's your outlet to the world, it's everything now, unfortunately, other than your music, which is the actual thing you're supposed to be doing. But that's just the modern world that we're in. It's almost like the comedians. Well, they do 5 minutes a night over here, over there, this, that, the other, but like most of what they have is like podcasts and things like that. And so there's a lot of those types of things that a lot of these are the ancillary things we need to take care of in order to make sure that we have everything being safe. And I think I saw recently that Google mandated two-factor authentication, which it's not hard if you're scared of it. Just look it up. It's real easy. It's super simple. Basically what it is you log in, and then when you log in, it says, I'm going to send a random number code to this app on your phone, and you use it, and only you with your phone with that app can view your user code. So you have to basically be at two devices and authenticate yourself that you're at both of them in order to log into anywhere, which sounds cumbersome, but it takes a second. So 5 extra seconds to log into something just to make sure that everything's super duper safe. Why not? So if you guys are looking for any more of those types of hints and tips and tricks, go back and listen to some of the Mike Schulte episodes. Those are really good ones for things when talking about that. Or maybe perhaps listening to a John Waugh episode from Three Finger Betty. We discussed Three Finger Betty's social medias, conundrums we've had over the years. So it's definitely worth listening to and checking some of those out. So be careful out there, people. Don't lose your social medias. Even if it's your personal social media, you don't want to lose that. So yeah, definitely. We're going to go back into this episode. It's Kris Karr. This was an interview I said 2 years ago. It's almost 2 years ago, maybe on the nose. I don't know exactly when the episode was published, but it's got to be really, really close to that. Which is honestly just super wild that I kind of picked this one at random. I haven't seen Kris in a few months, so I kind of just have been thinking about him, and I know he's real busy because I see him online all the time in the Audible Farm Facebook group where he posts his events. They're on the calendar there. That event calendar is getting used quite a bit. I see the group is slowly growing. I appreciate everyone that's been in there posting things. I know Kris has been posting a lot in there, and I post a lot in there, and also Jared Harp's been posting a lot in there. So thank you guys very much for using that. I see you guys posting a lot. There are also some people from other places in Iowa that are posting in there, and I am really, really appreciative of it. So thank you very much for that. This episode, I don't even know exactly what episode it was. 96, I believe, might have been the episode number on this originally, but this is a replay episode from 2020 featuring one of my favorite musicians from around the area, one of the people that got me super interested in playing music. And, it was weird to be a teenager just being this adult guy that plays music is cool. It's just weird to be that guy. But he was the guy. He ran a music shop and played all over the place, and he's got a really fun story. I've sat down and talked with him a couple times on the podcast, and this is an episode from 2020 in the summertime with Kris Karr.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
Hey everybody, I'm sitting down with Kris Karr today, and we're going to be talking about some of your new stuff you've been got going on here. You got a little studio, you set up a couple cameras, and you're getting everything kind of worked out. You got a really good live stream going on now.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I have to make sure that I thank Bob Minter because he really helped with that. He helped with the camera work, and because I really did. I didn't have any cameras. I had my laptop camera, and I think my first ones were with that. And he said, "Well, I've got a couple cameras," and then he knew how to run the software OBS, which is a free software, by the way, and that really helped a lot. So all of that is his deal.
Dude, okay, so there you go. OBS, you just let a cat out of the bag. So if you guys are looking to do anything kind of like this, maybe peek into it, because that's...
Oh, yeah. And so just to help you, if in case you're going to do this, or if you're already doing it, or if you've been trying to do this and you're having problems. So I have OBS, and that's what I use to get the video.
Yep. Does that, like, switch, like, camera angles and everything on OBS?
Yeah. I don't know this for sure, but I think maybe you can record individual cameras. I don't know if you can go back and mix that or not. Might not be able to do that. You'll have to read. I got as far as making sure that it work, but I'm not going to sit there and tell anybody that I'm an expert on it. So to give you an idea of the rundown, so we have back here we have a Soundcraft UI-24, and so this is our preamp. This feeds our audio software, our DAW, which is PreSonus, the latest version of PreSonus Studio One. Then that goes from there into a middle party's software. It's called Voice Meter Banana.
Okay.
And now there's Voice Meter, and then there's Voice Meter Banana, but you need to use Voice Meter Banana, otherwise the whole thing will not work. You cannot. That's what you need to get your audio from PreSonus, or at least in my case, from PreSonus over to OBS.
All right.
And boy, I'll tell you what, I battled with that for a couple of days, because to find information on it that made sense to me was a nightmare.
I can totally see that, because like you go to some websites and you're like, how does this work? It's like, oh, I didn't know I need a video production degree to figure out how to run this software, you know?
Well, it's great if you're a gamer. All the instructions are there. There's tons of information out there with Voice Meter Banana for gaming, but I'm not a gamer. I'm 59 years old. Now my son's a gamer, but he couldn't even help me. And so I finally got it figured out, and thank God. I mean, but it took forever. But anyway, it works really well. The thing about Voice Meter Banana is it has compression in it. And the compression is very good. The metering is good. It also has limiting in it, and that's also very good. I don't want to say it was an intuitive software. For me, it is not. Studio One, yes, that's very intuitive. But
I found that with some DAWs, though, like the digital audio workstations, for the most part, if I'm doing just a podcast, it's just like, here's 2 lines of audio. All you need is a little bit of compression. You're done.
Right.
I can use GarageBand and get away with it, and that's what I use.
Right.
But I mean, I've done stuff with like Audacity and Reaper and other stuff. They're like way less intuitive, but they've got way more features, and some of them are better. Like I've noticed on GarageBand, if you add too much compression, it just squishes it.
Oh yeah.
So too much compression is not a good thing, depending on the software and what you're using to compress it. And that's
right.
Some of those things are just things I'm finding out, because I don't have a degree in this, and I'm kind of like you. I'm just taking my free time to learn this, on my own, and some of it's just test as you go kind of stuff for the podcast. But
very much so.
And I don't know. Like I might even try to figure something out like this, because last time we recorded, you used just an omnidirectional mic, and we just sat, and it sounded really good. And
yeah, we used a $249 Apex tube mic, and that worked good. Now this new one, this is an Apex 580, and I've gotten a lot of compliments on this particular mic, so much so that I sold one to somebody in Des Moines. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get the product to deliver it to him, so we're waiting. I have 4 of them on order, and I think I'm going to buy another one to have here, because it seems to have a nice warm sound.
And you're ordering that through, like as a dealer through 8th Note Music, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Not just like going on Amazon and purchasing it?
No. I'm a dealer for Apex. So,
cool.
And they make some really great products, and this isn't a sales pitch. I'm just telling you that they do. I don't know what it is that they do that's different, but Seems like most of their products are just really spot on. So I've been really happy with this mic. There's another vocal mic that a number of us are starting to use. It's a 515. It's also a condenser, but it's a handheld, and so it's good for stage. But you can use that mic also for studio. It's got 3 capsules in it. One's hypercardioid, standard cardioid, and then it also has an omni capsule. So that could be pretty handy for some things like what we're doing. Like if you were going to do podcasting and stuff, and you were going to multi-interview people, just like this is on Omni right now, so it picks up everything.
Yeah, it's nice. Then you don't have to hook up 6 microphones into an interface and drag all your stuff all over the place.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. When we've been doing these podcasts, I didn't want a bunch of equipment in the way. Obviously, you're going to need a mic. So what was nice was that we were able to be around that mic, and I had seen somebody do this before, and it was a program. I think it's called West on 54th, and it was Steve Earle was on there.
Okay.
And he had a bunch of bluegrass players, and they were just walking around the mic, and they would blend themselves and move in and move out. And I just thought, wow, that's really cool.
Oh, whoa.
I would like to do that. And so this mic has been really good for that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So did you like set up I know you've got you've always had like a computer with something to plug a guitar into to record stuff for yourself. That's just kind of that's what you do, you're a musician.
Right.
But was it out of necessity that you started adding video and then streaming on Facebook? I'm assuming it was the fact that you couldn't play gigs that was the big...
Oh, yeah, very much so. So everything started to die, Everybody's gigs were just dropping like flies. As soon as they announced this,
evaporated out of thin air.
I have lost 3/4 of my gigs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I had a bunch of summer stuff booked. It's all gone because they're not having their town celebrations.
Oh yeah.
4th of July is canceled in a lot of places, which is very unfortunate. And I spotted a streaming page on Facebook, Live Cover Nation, I think is what it's called. Yeah.
That got really popular really fast.
Big time. And I can't think of that fella's name. Starts with an S.
It's over my head.
I don't know. Anyway, what he's done is really good. And of course, a bunch of them popped up since. But I was like, oh, this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
I got to get on this right now. And so I'd never streamed anything before, not even with my tablet.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know how. And I didn't even have the Facebook app on my tablet until this all went down. So I was kind of anti-technology for a while there. But so got this all going, and I realized this is what we were going to be doing. And my daughter goes, Dad, you need to get a Venmo account.
Ah, yes.
I was like, what's a Venmo account? She says, well, the people can tip you. I'm like, really? She goes, yeah, you have to have it. I'm going, well, I don't know how to set it up. She goes, I'll set it up for you. I'm going, okay, good. She goes, and I'm going to charge you 20%.
Raised a businesswoman.
That's right. So she's my manager now. So she set up the Venmo and the PayPal. So she's killing me.
What's really crazy about that is it's kind of fun to watch all the musicians, and I'm not trying to say that you're not technologically savvy, because you know how to do so much more stuff than I know how to do, but it's like, you've never really had to use PayPal or Venmo or anything like that for the most part,
No, because really all of that kind of thing is centered around social media, which I didn't grow up with. Now I have it, but I would strongly admit that I don't know really how to use it. And that's a big problem for somebody that's older.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. It's not intuitive like it is for somebody that's young. Now my daughter will get on, she finally got a Facebook page because she wanted to sell stuff. And so she's on it. She doesn't use it very much. She only uses it for the selling part of it. But she's just zipping around on it like it's nobody's business. And I'm over here going, how did you do that?
You know?
Because I don't know. But I'm learning more, I guess. I'm trying to figure out right now, do I put my page, do I make a fan page? Do I need to do that?
I mean, there's benefits and downfalls to it. So many of the people that want to watch what you're doing are already friends with you, but on the off chance someone's not, like,
right.
It might be easier for them to find you. Plus, it kind of relieves you from the, like, since I started the podcast, every week I get about 4 or 5 friend requests, maybe more, and a lot of them are from people I don't know. So they just sit there, and now I've got like 300 friend requests sitting there because I don't know I don't know who they are. Some of them I only have one person in common with, and I don't want to just add all these random people and screw up my feed and not be able to see the stuff that I like to see because I've added all these new people. But if you have a page, they just follow it, and then you don't have to look at any of their stuff. It's kind of nice.
True.
I mean,
one thing though, when we do these they're not podcasts, live streams. I usually get a few friend requests immediately following them, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
And so my friends list has definitely increased.
Oh, yeah.
So I suppose that's a positive thing. But mainly, when we go to stream, my wife will be sitting here usually. She'll run the cameras a lot of times for us.
Oh, cool.
And so I'll tell her, hey, share this, the minute that we're up and running, share it with these different pages. And of course, they're all live streaming pages for music. And I think that really helps. Like this last stream that I did on Sunday is up over 180 or 150 views, 850 views. Now, I don't really know all of what that means exactly, because you have the number when you're streaming of people that are watching you immediately, but then you have all these other numbers. So I really don't know how many people are watching at one time.
It's tough to decipher all that too, because like you said, if you go to like one place, somebody might be watching from a group, and then maybe the number doesn't show up on your personal page, or like when it says, I've got 800 views, what does that mean? Well, I actually looked into some of that stuff, and it means that 800 people looked at this for at least 3 seconds.
Right.
So they could have scrolled to it, watched you for 3 seconds, and scrolled past it. It's like click view.
Right. Right.
And I mean,
that's what I kind of thought.
The numbers aren't always justifiable. The downside is the analytics on Facebook aren't as good as a dedicated video software YouTube's got pretty good ones where you can be like, what's the retention rate of this video? So you can see, everybody started at the beginning, and you can start to see how everyone falls off by the end. And it's kind of nice. As far as the podcast goes, I noticed that if I'm having a good conversation with somebody, and then at 30 minutes I just hard shift into gear talk, it loses a lot of people. And I've been able to see that based on the YouTube analytics. Yeah. So, sometimes I try and steer clear of it, but I've always been one to kind of pick your brain a little bit about gear and just kind of talk to you a little bit about what's going on. Some of that comes from you having a guitar shop, and my whole life you've been one of those people that's kind of helped me out with stuff, or Well,
I've always been a gearhead, but I started off on drums, and so I was all about that. I had to have the latest thing, drum hardware, and it always had to be the best. And I would save my money, either working for my dad at the gas station, or I'd be out gigging. And some of my first gigs, it was $30, but $30 bought a lot back then.
Yep.
And so we'd get home from the gig in the car, and I'd have $30 in my hands, and I knew exactly what I was going to buy with that $30, or whatever I had to save up to get. And so it was drum stuff at first, and then I realized that I was going to need to have a PA if I was going to have a band. And I was interested in PA gear. I wanted to hear reverb. That's all we had. We had a spring reverb in the PA, and that's all we had back then.
An actual spring reverb, then, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
With the actual spring in it.
And so we'd...
That's a great sound when you're driving down the road.
Oh, yeah.
what is that? Oh, that's the amp. Okay.
But I bought the PA gear, and then we had cassette recorders when I was a kid. I had a Panasonic cassette recorder, portable cassette recorder, and that is how, I'm kind of veering off course here, but this is how, this was our Napster.
Yeah.
We'd put it by the radio, record the song so we could listen to it later. Mm-hmm. But that is where the gear thing started, because I was like, okay, cool, I can record my voice. So now I started recording my drums on there, and then I would play that back, and I would add stuff to it.
Oh, cool.
With 2 recorders.
Yep.
My sister had one, and when she wasn't using it, I'd kite that thing out of her room, and go do sound on sound. And then one thing led to another, and it was just more recording gear, more PA gear, whenever I could afford it. I think my first PA system was $400.
Yeah.
And it was 2 column speakers, and they had 4 10-inch speakers in each of them.
Yep.
And then a PV PA head, and this thing was it was as wide as an oven top. And it had 6 big knobs about the size of a coffee cup on it, and it was so cool because it made you feel like you were in control of everything,
Like you're flying SpaceX or something.
Right, look at me turn the knobs, I'm so cool,
Oh man, I love stuff like that when you're first starting to figure stuff out. The easiest one to explain is like, oh, this is a guitar, we'll put distortion on it, just E chord. Like, look how awesome this is. It sounds so cool. I mean, like, you're not really doing too much, but...
No, but it's cool. It's when I started to play electric, God, I was so clumsy, because I was a drummer, 1. 2, I had an acoustic guitar, and I was more comfortable with that. And I still, to this day, I'm more comfortable on an acoustic guitar. So... when I play electric, I've kind of adopted the Neil Young style of playing, where I just know it's going to be bad. So, I'm just gonna power through it. And I think what it was, one day, I would just play all pretty and stuff and lightly, and I got frustrated on stage one time, and I just started pounding the crap out of it. And I think that was a turning point for me to play electric, because I realized I didn't have to be careful with it anymore.
Yeah.
And it's an aggressive instrument, so
very much.
If you're gonna play it, play it.
Yeah, I mean, there is actually something to be said about like blues guitarists are, some of the most like aggressive players.
Oh, yeah.
I would say, because they're really plunking down on the strings and bending the heck out of them and doing all sorts of crazy stuff like that just to get tones. I mean, they'll put thicker strings on there and...
Well, yeah, because the guitars from, really early on were flat wounds.
Yep.
And the string gauges were thicker. Mm-hmm. I mean, God, your acoustic guitars when I was a kid, they were 13 gauge.
Now they're like 10-ish or something.
Yeah, and so I had friends, that I had 13s on my acoustic because I didn't know any better, and they were, making fun of me and telling me, "Oh, you've got bridge cables on there."
I do remember like seeing a joke back in the day, and it was something like, "Dad, how do I know when I become a man?" It's like when you start playing 10s or higher.
Right.
And that was like the joke with the old blues guitars, because like you said.
So what gauge do you play?
I play 9s or 10s. I've got 9s on some guitars, but I prefer 10s. I think they sound better, but honestly, is there really that much of an audible difference?
I used 10s for years. For years I used 10s because I didn't want there to be this huge difference between going from my acoustic, which were 12s or 11s, to 10s. But now I'm using a hybrid string. I started to realize that, like, when I did really fast hammer-ons or trills, that a 9 seemed to bounce a little better for me off my finger. So I'm using a 9 through 46.
Yep.
and I've been really happy with those. I typically used DR Pure Blues strings, but I also use the Veritas. Right now I'm using DR Veritas on my guitars as far as the electrics, and then on the acoustics I used to use D'Addario EXP12s in the 8020 series, but I switched over to DR Veritas. I don't know what it is. I like them a little bit better. And part of it is they seem to last a little longer and don't cost as much.
Yeah.
So, even for a guy that owns a music store,
You're still worried about cost.
yeah,
and everything.
price is important. Yeah, it is.
That makes sense. I mean, that's kind of the crazy thing is like, as time progresses, everything in the music field gets a lot, I mean, I want to say cheaper, but like less expensive and more efficient. You get a little bit more bang for your buck now than you ever have, I feel like. Does that seem like something for you? Or?
I think, it's very much true because, a lot of people will complain about prices and stuff on things like guitars and whatnot, or PA equipment. But, you really think about it, we're sitting in my little 17 by 17, that's the dimensions of this room, and that we call 17 by 17, and it's a full-on studio.
Yeah.
And there is more outboard in this software than we could actually fit physically in this room.
Yeah.
And if you think about how much those pieces of equipment cost, so for instance, some of the compressors, let's say in Studio One, that are gonna emulate some of the compressors that you would have seen in a big studio. You can buy Studio One. I'm gonna say for between $300 and $500. It just depends on what their special is. But one of those compressors would have cost you $2,000.
Yeah.
Just one.
Yep.
And you can have one on every channel. So and that in itself is amazing. Things like digital mixers. I just happen to use Soundcraft's UI-24. There are just some amazing mixers out there that are digital. And again, it's the same thing. I have something that's no bigger than 5 rack spaces, and not as deep, only as deep as a headphone amplifier.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. I can see it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yay deep instead of, I've got a power amp, tube power amp. It's almost as deep as it'll get, so it won't fit in some racks.
Right. And this thing's super light. It's got 20 channels. So this thing's $1,200 new. If they would have had a console like this 30 years ago, you'd be looking at $1 million.
Totally, though.
Oh, easily. So everything has really come down because of the technology that's available. Even microphones like the one that we're talking in right now is $250. It's kind of replaced one of my other mics, which is
considerably
now
more expensive.
You can buy this other mic that I have, but it's like a grand.
Yeah,
and honestly, I think this $249 mic sounds great.
That's just something to say about, like, you don't have to spend $1 million to sound like $1 million,
No, I don't think so these days. It really is just what you do with your software, and there are certain things that do matter. Really good studio monitors matter. If you want to know what something is supposed to sound like, you need good studio monitors. That really helps a lot. It's still okay to check some things with your headphones, but again, you got to make sure you got really good headphones.
Yeah, yep.
Those are the things that you don't want to skimp on, and that do cost. But yeah, microphones, it's unbelievable how much all of that stuff has gone down in price.
Yeah, that also has something to be said for the fact that, we were talking, you could buy some like rack compressor or whatever. You can do that. It's just another piece of hardware, but you've got one digitally in a software that does the job just as good.
I think it does, honestly. I've used some of the other types of compressors, the rack mount ones, and some of the mic preamps. There are some mic preamps though that are in those $2,000 models. There's something to be said about them. They have a certain sound.
Yep.
They're I don't want to say they're transparent, because they're really not to me.
Yeah.
They sound a certain way, and it's pleasing to the ear. But it's just like a microphone. You pick the microphone that's pleasing to your ear.
Yeah.
And roll with that.
I mean, for most of my podcasts, I almost don't want to admit it, but I literally use like a $20 Behringer microphone. And it's like, this is supposed to be like a Shure SM48, which isn't a great microphone, but it's less than half the price of the Shure.
Oh, the 48s, I think they were great.
Yeah. That was the first one I ever started using. Oh,
no, sorry about that.
No, that's cool. No, but I like...
Here, let me put that on mute.
At one point in time, I saw a video of this is the reason you don't share mics at a local bar. So like I was like, I really don't care that much. But then you see some guy like I almost don't even want to say it, but he like threw up into the mic while he was playing, and it was just like, oh, that's gonna stay here, and the next band is gonna use this.
Yeah.
Thing. Or tomorrow they're gonna use it. So I was like, I'm starting to bring my own mic everywhere now. So I brought an SM48 because I was like, well, it's not the greatest, but it's also like, if it gets bent up or dinged, I'm not going to be mad that I, brought some $high mic in here to sing through. So
yeah, karaoke. Yeah, karaoke people go through that. They've got drunks on their mics, and they're just
spitting into the thing. Ugh.
Yeah, my sister has had a karaoke show in Cedar Rapids, I think, for about 18 years, and she goes through a ton of microphones.
Oof.
Oh yeah.
I can just imagine. A lot of times they look good on the outside until you take them off and pull the sock out of the inside, and you're like, holy cow.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like right now I've been looking at a couple of the vocal mics that we have. We're using for our live shows. We're using an SM87, just the standard model, and the screens are shot. They're people go, Chris, which mic is yours? It's the grossest one.
Yeah, because you're doing the most singing.
If you don't want to touch it, chances are it's mine.
But at least it's your grossness and not somebody else's,
My wife and I were looking at it the other day, and I said, we really got to get new windscreens for this particular mic. So that'll be getting ordered.
But I mean, that's like super cool. I mean, I think about that a lot of times with, I play more guitar than anything. So like amp modelers 10 years ago when I was playing, or, 15 years ago, you get some like Digitech on the floor amp modeling, whatever. And it's like, it sounds all right. It doesn't sound bad. I've seen people use them very well and they sound good. I mean, it's really fun to go watch a touring band. It's like, what are you doing with a Digitech pedal down there? Like this thing is literally just an all-in-one nonsense. And he's like, I only use it for this, this, and this. And if you combine it with these, it sounds good. It's like, I never would have thought about that. But But nowadays you've got digital processors. I mean, obviously the expensive ones like Kempers and Fractal Axes, and but almost all of them sound pretty darn good nowadays compared to what they used to. They have a lot more dynamic range than they ever did, and
they do. I think where those things really shine is for live use, especially for church work, or things where that everybody's going to be on in-ear monitors, and it really helps the sound guy because he doesn't have to deal with the live content.
Yeah,
it makes everything tighter. The downside, though, even as good as they are, and they are very good, but even as good as they are, for me, you lose some connection. You might have the tone, but you don't have the connection between the volume of your amp and the guitar. Those things aren't locking in. So, like, even in the studio here, I mean, I use one of these types of pedals when we do our live shows. So I have no amp on stage. It just comes in my ears. Now, sometimes I'll take an amp in certain situations. But it does make it a lot easier. And certainly it lightens the load on my back to just carry in a briefcase that has my pedal board in it. And then, I can save all the sounds that I need for particular songs. So that's awesome. But not being able to have the connection between the guitar and the amp, that does really drive me nuts. Like, I can't get... There's certain feedbacks certain harmonics that I can't really get
Yep.
without actually having the amp in front of me. So when I'm in the studio, I never use that.
Yeah.
I always use an amp because then I can doctor that with, pepper it with effects after the fact, unless it's something like that I really want to hear out of that pedal board, but then I can put it through the amp.
Yeah. It totally makes sense. I get what you're saying, because it's kind of like if somebody sent you an email, it has all the same content as if they sent you a letter, but for some reason the letter has more something. It's got that touch of love in it that the email doesn't have, and that's the difference between analog and digital. Is I feel digital is so close, but like you said, I mean, if you're used to crank your guitar up to 10, lean in towards the amp, create a little feedback, and come back, sometimes the digital one doesn't react the same way an analog one would.
It doesn't. Even bass guitar, for instance, my recording software, it has amplifier emulation software for both guitar and bass now. But it really doesn't cut it. There's something missing there. It's not as present, so I don't use that at all.
Yeah.
Sadly.
I mean, I think about that all the time too, because there's so many people that do use those to great success, and hooray. I mean, it works great and stuff, but I don't know. I've never had the want or desire to fully digitize everything I'm doing and be like, this is going to sound the best, because literally what it is it's a digital representation of a physical thing, and you're not actually recreating this thing. You're getting as close as you can with this. And I mean, you're no stranger to this, and we already talked about this, but like, if you go back 10 years and then you look at now, how much better things have gotten, and it's only going to keep getting better and closer to the real thing.
Oh, it will. Yeah.
So diving into digital is like a weird thing, because it's convenient and it's easy. I'm almost stealing this from Bob Minter, because I remember he was talking about this, but digital's easy and convenient, but you need other softwares to run certain things, and then sometimes you got to update things, and then before too long it's outdated, or like an amp is always going to be a guitar amp, and if it was good, it's always going to be good.
Oh, it's true, because when this software is no more, and they have updated their section for amplifiers, this amp will still be here. It'll still be ready to go,
and it's still going to sound as good as it ever did.
Or if they don't include it in the next generation, or stop making this software, it's like, oh crap, well there goes that. But I always have this to lean back on. And in fact, I'll use this amp. This amp. This started off as a Joyo chicken head amp, and it came in defective, so they sent me a new chassis, and I put the new chassis in the amp, and I gave the old chassis to a friend. So he took that and rebuilt it, recapped it, and put all the things in it that he wanted.
Oh.
And then he built this cabinet by hand and tweeted it by hand.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and I think he even had this chicken head sticker made, and so put it together, and then he found a Jensen concert speaker to put in it. So it's a 5E3, like a Fender Deluxe from the 1950s. And the thing just screams, but I use this amp a lot for tracking, and I track bass through it too.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Well, the reason I did that was because I'd been reading a bunch of stuff on Carol Kay, the bass player, who's been on more records than anybody. So she has this technique where she would play through guitar amps, because there were really no bass amps at that point. And so she would play through like a 410. And then eventually they made this amp. I can't think of what the heck it was called, but it was a 12-inch speaker in it. And I went, well, I'm going to try this and just see how it sounds, and I love how it sounds.
Yeah.
The other thing too with her bass, she puts a piece of, you can see it on this bass over here, she puts a piece of tape on the bridge.
Okay. Oh yeah. Yep.
Now I always see people, like some bass players and some guitar players, they have the I don't even know what it's called, but like a Velcro piece that goes around the neck up on top where the nut is.
Yep.
And so that I'm guessing that helps with some deadening, to keep loose strings from going. But one thing it does, Carol Kay's version, which is down on the bridge, because there's a piece of felt underneath the piece of tape. Mm-hmm. And what that does, it gets rid of harmonics that you don't want. So when you go down for an F, there's a harmonic there. Mm-hmm. And it's really irritating to listen to. And you don't even realize that you're hearing it until you put that piece of felt there. And then it disappears and you pull it back off and you go, oh my God, that's way different. So you put it back on. And, but you only put it on, you don't want to kill the sustain. You just want to get rid of that harmonic. And so it makes that F ring more true.
I saw somebody do that once at a live show, and they did it from the bottom up. They put something underneath on the inside of the bridge, so it came from the bottom up to deaden everything. And I remember just looking at this guy like, "What are you doing? Like this is gonna totally ruin your guitar sound," and it didn't, And kudos to him for figuring it out. So that's pretty crazy. I never would have thought of anything like that.
Well, I had neither. I mean, I'd seen that kind of thing on Rickenbacker basses. They have a little device that you push and it comes up on some of those. Gibson EBO.
Okay.
They had one.
All right.
And I think they only had that on for a year, and it irritated the players, so they stopped putting it on there.
It's kind of like putting that sock over the nut. I would assume that would get in the way, sometimes putting the little string deadeners on the end of the guitar, but...
Yeah, I don't know. They seem to really like it. I don't know if I noticed the difference when they're playing, but if they do, that's what counts.
Yeah, I mean, that's also one of those things like, there's no wrong way to eat the Reese's that is music,
No.
It's so many times it's just like, well, will this work? And you try it, it's like, well, this worked. I mean, let's just do it. And I was like, did it sound good? Yeah, it sounded good. Like, nobody's ever done it before. It's not the way you're supposed to do it, but it still sounds good,
Yeah. So are you recording?
I don't do any recording of bands or anything. I record some of my own material, but if I have to be honest, I'm so reclused by my own abilities that I just toss everything in the garbage when I'm done.
Oh, that's not good.
No, it's not. It's really not. But it's I just abandon every project I start because it's just and I hate to say it, I do so many interviews with so many people that are so much better than me, different but better, and it's just dude, these people are killers. I can't compare to these guys, but you got to start somewhere, and that's the worst part is I'm always going back to square one and never getting any farther.
My attitude has always been hang out with people that are way better than you, because you'll learn so much, and eventually you'll be one of those people that other people want to hang out with. Hanging out with better players will make you a better player. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because you will always want to be trying to impress your peers or those people that you may look up to as far as players.
It creates a weird sort of friendly competition in a sense.
Yeah, it's when you're young, you just want to be noticed by them. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be able to take them. Mm-hmm. You just want them to notice that you're trying,
I recall that being a youngster and first learning guitar. You get your first Squier guitar out of the box set with the amp and everything. You're like, I'm going to play guitar. And I remember going to a jam night. I believe you were there. It would have been up at Spanky's, if I recall correctly.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, we're talking 15 plus years ago. And
something like that.
And so I went up to the jam nights there, and I remember, and I almost don't want to admit any of this either, but I remember just being these old guys. Yeah, bring it, whatever. I play punk music. I've
been through that.
Yeah, and so then you watch them, and you're just holy cow! It's almost just, it's your mind is blown by it all. It's like getting punched and somebody had just turned your head completely around in a 360, and you stopped it. What is going on? These guys are so good, and. That's just one of those things. I got introduced to stuff like that. Believe it or not, Bob Johnson used to bring me to jam nights every now and then.
Yeah, Bob.
Just to be like, hey, come to a jam night, and I was like, okay. And then you're like, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this because nobody's going to play anything that I know. But
right.
A lot of times people did play stuff I knew. And I mean, that was how I ran into Eric Nelson for the first time.
Yeah,
and
Eric, yeah.
Listening to him play old Hold for Swank songs at a jam night, it's kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, that's that's one of those things. I've always been like really unsure of my abilities, and about like 3 or 4 years ago, I had a lot of free time, so I sat down and was like, I'm gonna figure out how to play and be competent while doing it instead of just kind of guessing your way through it.
Yeah.
And I got good enough to go to jam nights and things like that. And that's one of those things when you realize, like, oh, I can stand next to, Jeremy Ober and Scott Dahl and Brad Hofing and whoever else and just be like, I actually fit in here, And beforehand, I was just like, I don't know if I fit in with these people. They're so good.
You do. I mean, I saw you over at Rockin' Picnic when you and Jeff, you guys formed that band. What was that band called?
The Stockyard.
The Stockyard, yeah. Yeah, and that was good. That was good. And Jeff really appreciated that because being a left-handed drummer, he never gets to play at a jam because it's
I never thought of that.
Yeah. So he was excited about that. I mean, really excited. And, we sat out in the audience and watched you guys. So you did fine. I mean, it was a good little band. I thought it went great.
Yeah, I like I said, I had tons of fun playing and stuff like that. And I'd like to go to jam nights and play more, but sometimes I feel like my musical content might not fit in there because I'm a little bit harder of a player. I don't play blues quite as much, but like everything kind of fits in. But you also got to think like nobody's gonna know how to play. Just Got Paid by ZZ Top. It's not very like
right.
It doesn't lend itself to a jam night as well as other songs.
Yeah, maybe not. The jams that I used to go to when I was young, we didn't really. When we got together to jam, we didn't play covers. Mm-hmm. We just played stuff. We just started making music, and somebody would call out chords or a progression, and then we would just go around with that and just kind of invent stuff. So it's the jams that I grew up with are a lot different. Now the acoustic thing that I did when I was at Spanky's, or Betsy's.
It used to be what?
Betsy's Blue Note. Yeah.
Okay. You're like pulling me back into like my childhood.
Right. Yeah. Now that was, people would come up and I would want them to come up and do a few songs, and I didn't care if it was original material or cover material. That kind of thing helps people that haven't done it before. They're not pressured so hard to have lots of material. They can come up there and just do one song.
Yep.
Because it is first time you step up there. I don't care what the jam situation is. You want to be involved with music with other people. That's why you go to that.
Yeah.
And you want to impress people as best you can. So you work pretty hard on whatever instrument that you're playing. You work pretty hard on it. You might not think that you're cutting it, but just doing it and getting up there, that takes a lot of nerve.
Yeah.
It does. The first time you do it, you're just shaking. I mean, you're just doing all you can to get through that song. And you know that you're going to miss a ton of notes. I remember the first time I did it, oh God, I was shaking so bad. I could barely keep my fingers on the guitar. I mean, it was awful. I was just sweating bullets.
I love thinking about that stuff because I even still, to some extent, get nervous before I play. I mean, like I play in a punk band, and it's like, well, everything's, there's like 6 chords tops in this song. It's like 3 minutes long. Nothing's ridiculously complex, so it's all easy, quote unquote. But I still, for some reason, get like I still get a little bit of those nerves. I don't know if I call it nerves, but it's like, I don't know, it's just anxious or what it is. But
oh yeah.
I mean, is that something you still get to this day, or is it like die down a little bit, or?
I don't get nervous too often. Once in a great while, I'll get nervous if I'm doing a song that I'm not comfortable with.
Ooh, yeah.
Or I've just learned, and because to me it's really important to present that song well, and I don't want to screw it up. But the live streaming thing, that's a whole nother thing.
It's a different beast altogether.
Now, you wouldn't think you'd be nervous because you're just by yourself. You're just sitting here in this room. But that camera's on. And I think the difference is when you're at a jam and you totally screw up, that happened there.
Yep.
Everybody's going to forget about it.
Yep.
Unless somebody was, videotaping with their phone for that YouTube viral moment where you really screwed up.
I caught Kris Karr screwing up once in a 9-year event.
Right,
Check it out.
yeah. That's an every night event. But you get on video here, you do your live stream, and you have so many people watching you, and you're not really aware of exactly who's watching you for that length of time. It could be somebody brand new that's never seen you before.
Yeah.
And you're going, God, I hope I don't screw this up. So you kind of get nervous.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit nervous the first, at least the first one, if not the first two that I did. But after a while, I got used to it. I just developed the train of thought was, I'm sitting here looking at these cameras, and then I would look at each camera when Bob got them, and I would just go, oh, I'm going to wave to somebody over there. I'm just going to pretend that the audience, that I see all the people that I know. And so I would just look at each camera and say, how's it going? No, don't get up. Don't get up, it's not time to go pee yet. That kind of thing.
You still interact with them like everybody's still there.
Yeah, because I think it makes them more comfortable. Hopefully it keeps them watching and keeps things interesting. That's the worst. It's like you don't want too much dead air time. Just like on stage, you don't want to be standing there for over a minute with nothing to say.
Yep. That makes sense.
They would rather hear you say or like or some other word repeatedly.
Maybe what you need to do is like behind the cameras set up like a crowd so it looks like you're playing at like Woodstock or something, like so then you're just like, hi everybody, and it looks like there's a big crowd behind the cameras.
Yeah, it would be handy if Zoom could provide something like that. That's pretty cool. I ended up on a Zoom program. A teacher, a local gal invited me to be interviewed in front of her students, and then for her students to ask questions. There's this one kid, and he had, I didn't know that you could do backgrounds, so I was like, what in the heck? There's all these dinosaurs in the back running around. Well, he's wearing a dinosaur hat. And I don't know what was causing it, but there was a pair of eyes on top of the dinosaur hat, and they would come in, and then they would disappear, and then pop up and disappear. And it's like, wow, that's really weird.
Yeah, it's that partial facial recognition software that they use. I mean, I've done it very little bit with Skype and Zoom. You can do it with both of them, and you don't even need a green screen, but it's kind of guessing based on like, this is like a body shape and a head shape, and if you've got like a big hat on, sometimes it'll green screen it out, and sometimes it comes back in like you said. But I mean, that's another thing that's pretty crazy, is the fact that there's so much like video conferencing and things like that going on, and it's almost like hard, I feel, to not get lost in the jumble with some of that stuff. Like if you're going, that's the only reason I haven't done video conferencing for the podcast, because it's hard to differentiate yourself from the pack if that's the only thing that's going on.
It is. I think that's true. Otherwise, it just looks like everybody else's.
Yeah.
I'm sure like gamers go through that same thing.
Oh yeah.
What is it, Unilad or whatever, or Mini Lad or something out there who's a big gamer. My son always talks about this guy, and everybody's copying his YouTube channel like crazy.
Yeah.
So theirs start to look like his. As far as how you present yourself on these things, it's anybody's. Yes, it's what works for you.
Yeah. Do you want to be in like a smoking robe in a leather chair with a pipe? Like,
right.
How cool do you want to make yourself look? Or are you just sitting in front of a laptop camera, or what's going on? But.
Right. And the technology is cool. I mean, I've got these cameras and things, and the recording software, something more than somebody else has. But what really counts is just your performance.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to keep them busy or engaged? And that's what really matters. I saw a gal, what was her name? Smokestack Betty. on one of these streams. And she plays a 12-string guitar. She's an older gal. And my God, she knows so many songs. It's unbelievable. And she just sits there and casually plays. It's nothing fancy. She's apparently just got her phone mounted. And she's just sitting, I'm guessing, in a living room and just pounding out songs. And people just love her.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, well, that's the other thing is it comes back to you don't always need you don't need a nice mic. You don't need a different camera other than the one that's not on your phone. You don't need any of that stuff, really.
No, you just need yourself. You just have to be confident enough to sit here and then talk to your audience just like you and I are sitting across from this table talking to each other.
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird disconnect. I took a public speaking course online. And this was the rules for the public speaking course. You had to be in a room with all the doors and windows closed.
Okay.
You had to videotape the entire room to show that nobody was in it. You had to videotape the ceiling and floor to show that you were going to cheat by looking at notes somewhere.
Oh, really?
And then you videotape yourself for public speaking in an empty room with nobody else around to nobody. And you would record it on a camera. And this was the public speaking course that I took that I paid money for at a college.
Right, that you could have sat and just did that yourself.
Bingo.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, I failed to realize, like, why is this important? This has no public speaking, because believe it or not, public speaking doesn't make me nervous. I can stand up in front of people and talk all day. Some people get so queasy and nervous just to talk to people, but I can talk forever for no reason, and I'm okay with it. But for some reason, like you said, when it's just you and a camera, you're like, this is getting recorded. Somebody else is going to have this. They can play it anywhere, anytime they want to. They can put it on a big screen and play it to any, So you get a little nervous, but I asked, what's the point of this? And they actually said that a lot of interviews will be that way now because they don't want to fly people halfway across the country to do an interview. So they're like, here's the stock list of 20 questions we're going to ask you at the interview, answer them on a video. And that's how a lot
so
of...
So they can edit it after the fact?
Maybe, maybe not. Like my class, we couldn't use edited material. So it had to be straight, one shot, no edits. And
oh, wow.
For anybody that's going to take that class, if you end up taking something like that and they want your manuscript, just write your manuscript after you talk, and then it matches perfectly and you get all A's, but that's...
Right.
Maybe I shouldn't say that, but anyways, I mean, that's I just think about that stuff when it comes down to recording yourself with video and things like that. That's another reason I haven't done the podcast, because it's now I gotta make sure I don't have any boogers, is my hair cut right,
Right.
I don't have a makeup gal.
That's the thing, I walk in here and I'm finally, I'm just in a t-shirt and my hat, because the lighting isn't perfect. This is, I've done what I can with the tools that I have.
And you've done very well with it, honestly.
Well, the first ones are really rough, but that was an issue over internet speed, a bad Ethernet cable.
I think I remember seeing something about that online. You said maybe there was a squirrel that at one point in time had chewed on a line or something.
That had happened. So our cable line had been chewed by a squirrel. We had a damaged Ethernet cable.
Oof, yeah, everything. Down the tubes.
And then in all of this info, we had talked about this earlier, in all of this info about looking at OBS and trying to figure out how to run all of this stuff together, nobody in anything said, hey, you should probably turn on the delay. A few seconds of delay. So I turned it on to 30 seconds of delay. I wanted to make sure. I thought, we'll do a test. Boom, that's all it took. That's all it took to make the stream run smooth with all of this video cut out.
That's awesome.
Now we're running at 15, but I've thought about going back to 30. It ran so smooth that way. I only notice a couple glitches now and then. I kind of wonder if I ran it at 30, if the video wouldn't be clearer. Have enough time to process that. Just like when you're watching your Netflix, if your internet's not working quite great, you'll see the picture start to degrade.
Yep, audio drop and things
like that. Yeah.
That's been a new thing with Netflix, I've noticed. A handful of people have been complaining about
the audio is horrible.
And I like literally every video I watch, every time it happens, I hit the complain button because it's just like somebody needs to fix this or else nobody's
You have
getting
a
my.
complain button?
There's a complain button on there. You can be like, what?
Well, mine's
like
through an Apple Puck.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's like a little question mark thing that's one of the. It's not like the play or the fast forward or reverse, but there's like a question mark, and
I'm
it's
gonna
like,
have to look for that.
and it's like, is there an issue? And you can be like, yeah, the sound's not good, and you just be like, there's a blip every 2 minutes, and if it happens, I always complain because it's like someone's got to fix this, or else I'm not paying you money for it. You know?
Yeah, it's
You're supposed to be like the highest service that can be provided.
You know,
as
it's
far as
bad when you have
streaming.
to turn your closed caption on.
Yeah.
You know.
That's a new trick everyone's been doing too, though. Is the closed caption is always on everyone's Netflix. It seems like now. And I don't,
Oh, I had to. We watched Peaky Blinders, and I was like, I can't follow this dialogue. I got to turn that on. I want to know what that guy says. Mm-hmm. You know, because the accents are so heavy in that.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Great show though.
Oh man.
But
So-
yeah.
You've got to be creating quite a bit of content, I guess. I mean, you've got all these videos. They're all available on your Facebook page
Right.
or on your personal account, I guess it would be.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a personal page for your music other than the Kris Karr band page. Right.
Right. I hadn't thought that far. Honestly, this all took place, and now I'm thinking about all of that stuff. You know, I thought about starting a fan page, thought about starting a 17 by 17 page, but I kind of got to watch what I'm doing. I have to be careful of the content that I have coming in, and I figure too, and am hoping that this is more temporary
Yes.
than permanent. But right now, it's run longer because of the coronavirus issue, and everything. This has run much longer than I anticipated. I thought we'd be down a month,
Yeah.
and then slowly be coming
3 months
back.
now.
But then when that didn't happen, I told somebody, I said, the summer's over. I can just tell right now, and that's where we are. So I don't have anybody booked in here yet. I got to see how that's going to go. Now, we've had other people besides myself and Jeff Blummel,
Yep.
the Cosmic Brownies.
Yeah.
We had Clint in here. We had Clint and the
Blue Ribbon Ramblers.
Blue Ribbon. I always want to say Wright County Ramblers. Yes, I know.
Makes sense, yeah. That's him.
The Blue Ribbon Ramblers, and then we had Brutal Republic in here.
Oh, cool.
And I would actually like to have those guys back in here. Clint did a great job. You know, his video, he was very entertaining, did a great job. Jeremy always does a great job. He and I did a duo here. We had a lot of people view that. And I've had a lot of compliments on that particular one. And of course, Brutal Republic was here. And thank Bob for lending me these cameras. Bob Minter from shameless plug, Code Zero Radio here. I have to say that. I hope that was okay.
I love him.
Yeah, you gotta love Bob. And he's just he just loves music. He just wants to do it. And
Yes.
I wish we could just give him that, you know.
Yep.
But he was so kind to let me use these cameras, and what was cool is this one camera is off like a drone, so it's got a wide, it's a cheap drone, $139 drone. So I got this thing hooked up, and I have it. I take it off the mount, and on the Brutal Republic performance, I'm running the camera all up and down. I'm flying it around. Trying to give it that kind of cool look, and we put some lighting in here, so it was kind of psychedelic.
Nice.
But and people like that. The only downside to that whole particular performance, we had a cable go bad on the bass, or the DI for the bass, and I was so bummed, and it took me forever to figure out what was going on there. We thought we were just overloading the audio, because I had it pumped up pretty good, but it turned out there was a wire broke.
No, it's the worst.
So, and it was just intermittent.
Oh, no.
And so it's just making this little scratching.
So Vino wiggled just the right way, it would do it.
Yeah, no, it wasn't even his guitar cable. It was just in the back of the amp. And so just the vibrations alone.
Oh, man.
So what a nightmare. Anyway, so I'd really like to have them back in and get another performance. The other thing, too, that's been kind of cool about doing this, and I will say this, is that now, like, for instance, Brutal Republic and Wright County, or Blue Ribbon Ramblers now have some video content out of here that actually looks pretty decent. It sounds pretty decent.
Yep.
So they'll be able to use that as a selling tool, and it'll probably help them get more gigs.
Yep.
And of course, Clint's been doing videos, which whoever's doing that is doing it. Is that you doing that? Is that you?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think I heard. I was trying to figure it out because I was talking to somebody about it. You're doing that. That was good. It was good work.
I made a music video for him. The cool part about that was we recorded in like 4 hours. We just picked a handful of settings and recorded a bunch of different angles, and
Yeah.
I just smushed them all together in a wham music video.
Yeah, no, you did a great job. Well, you had a good subject matter always helps too. You know, it's all about what you're aiming the camera on too.
The secret about that was I wanted to get it done by Mother's Day, and we were about a week late, unfortunately. We couldn't hammer out a time to sit down and record stuff, or we wanted to record outside, but it's raining. You can't really record in the rain, you know, and it was crazy that we picked a perfect day. There was just a little bit of cloud cover when he hits his like last verse, and obviously the song's about his mom.
Yeah.
He hits the last verse, and the clouds part, and the sun starts shining on him, and it's completely natural, by accident, happenstance, 100%. So
You gotta like that.
yeah, I mean, like I had multiple cameras. I was always just recording them, and ironically, I'm just using a phone camera. They're good enough now that you can.
Oh, yeah.
They're passable. So
Yeah.
I was using a phone camera, and I mean, he was just dinking around, and I recorded all of his outtakes, and one of them sounded so good with just the raw audio.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, this sounds good enough to upload.
Phone cameras are better than what I'm using right here, probably.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I'm trying to relate to so many people. Like everyone, if you have 4 people in a band, you got 4 people with awesome cell phones usually.
Yeah.
Just put them on a tripod and record them. Then the only worry is you've got to have some way to get good.
You have to have
audio.
an editor, and
Yep.
yeah, the audio is the big one, and that seems to be a big thing with all of the live streaming that I see going on. Now, I have a buddy out in California, and he constantly messages me about the performance, and he says, everything you're doing, he says, your audio is just killer compared to everybody else's, and I don't really know why that would be, but because so many people have access that know a lot more about this than I do. There was a couple people compared this to Daryl's house. Well, this is Daryl's closet, maybe, but they've been happy with it, and that's really all I care. If it'll, the main thing that I didn't really realize at first, I was just trying to have something to do when this all went down, but there are many people at home, they can't get out. People with huge health issues that I didn't know about. There were people that would watch me,
but couldn't because they can't travel.
They can't travel. So I said a couple weeks ago, I'm just going to keep doing this. I don't know how often. Once a week.
Yeah.
At least, probably. Just hop on, even if it's only for a half hour.
Yeah, I mean, you could pick a half an hour on a Tuesday evening and be like,
yeah, it gives them something to do, and also some social interaction, because when we're doing this, unlike a recorded performance, they can write to us, and it might be 15 to 30 seconds delay time, but still we're able to answer them back, and so I think that's helped a lot. We've had some people write us and basically say that, so we'll continue to do that. I think mostly though that it's interesting to watch, for me, how other people get it done. I watched this guy up in Alaska, and I'm trying to remember his name, and he does looping. He's got an ukulele and a rubber string bass, keyboards, and he'll beatbox and get a loop going. And on one particular video, they were just talking about pickles. Started talking about pickles. All of a sudden, there's pickles. He's got pickles up in behind him. He's got like a green screen going. you know, and look at that beautiful pickle footage. And he's got this, you know, this really trippy funk music going on, and he's singing about pickles. I want to put them in my mouth, you know.
Oh my god.
And he was great. I watched his deal, and then there's some other people out there. There's a couple gals from Minneapolis area, and I can't think of their name. I have a buddy that loves to watch them, and he's a person that has to stay in his house, but he watches them, and they have these nice harmonies. They both play guitar, and they tour, you know, worldwide. Mm-hmm. But they're just a couple gals that play acoustic music from Minnesota, and I think they have some originals, but I think they mainly play covers.
Yep.
And so they are just doing it with a phone cam, mm-hmm. but I think they've got something now to plug into their phone mm-hmm. that interfaces with an audio interface, so they can use a little better mic.
Yep. I talked recently with Trevor Treiber from...
Oh yeah, I love that guy.
Dude, I went and watched one of his recent...
He's really talented. He is.
Yeah.
Very talented guy.
Almost offensively talented.
Yeah.
Like, you're not supposed to be able to be this good, dude. Like, save some for the rest of us, you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, I wrote him. I played a gig with him with the Surf Zombies. Or no, it was the Camaros, the Flaming Camaros, with Brooke Hoover and stuff. But yeah, he's very talented. Anyway, I wrote him because I listened to your interview with him, and he said that he didn't feel that he'd be a good front man. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
I don't know how that could be.
You're an awesome front man. Yeah. I mean, you're already doing it.
Yeah.
You're already doing it.
Doing it every Sunday with the Junk Food Jam already.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and what was that song? Because you were talking about that song where he's talking about the music industry, about being a punk rock show. Mm-hmm. You know, there was just, those were great lyrics, and that was a funny song.
Yeah.
It was just so well done.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, I shared the crap out of that. I just thought it was awesome.
Yeah, he had the ability to tiptoe the line without being offensive towards one way or the other. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it pretty much just came down to, I'm tired of making pennies. I'd rather just sell out and make some money at this point, you know?
And he's right, though. I mean, that's exactly how it is. It is. You know, back then, I wanted to play rock, you know, when I was young, and you couldn't make any money playing rock. You had to play country if you wanted to make money. Mm-hmm. It was just a fact.
Yep. I mean, that's not much different than now. I mean, playing original music doesn't get you as far as playing covers usually, especially if you're like playing in bars and things. But...
No, you almost have to, like what we do. We have a little bit of both. Mm-hmm. So we kind of sneak it in there.
The best part is when you sneak it in there.
And they don't know.
And nobody will know, because it's like, oh, this is just as good as the last song.
Yeah.
So.
And if you're doing that, then you're doing all right. But yeah, no, it's definitely tougher. It's a lot tougher for doing original music. There's no doubt about it. And it shouldn't be that tough. Mm-hmm. That should be just really a wide open area, and I would encourage venues to embrace that as much as possible. Yeah. I think that's where we're headed.
Yeah, I think a lot of it depends on location and the audience that's usually there.
Oh, certainly.
So
you're gonna see more of it in larger cities, of course, like Des Moines or Minneapolis.
Oh yeah,
et cetera, et cetera.
You could stand anywhere in Des Moines and throw a rock and go find live music.
Yeah.
Almost oversaturated at this point, but
probably is. Now, and it's funny because I've never played in Des Moines.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the other thing. It's not every town's for every person, you know. And
it's always tougher to get into the larger towns because there's definitely a select group. Mm-hmm. It was tough. Like when I lived up in the Twin Cities, it was tough to get into that market too. Mm-hmm. You know, I ended up in an original band, so I was in the same boat everybody else was. We were just getting whatever gig we could get. Mm-hmm. You know, playing coffee shops and stuff too. And I think we've got to play one bar where they paid us, you know, like actually just paid us decent money. Mm-hmm. But the rest was just all, they might give us $50 and some tip money, you know.
Yeah. That's always the toughest, though. It seems like slightly disheartening to put all that energy and work and stuff to go to a bar and get paid $20, $30, $40 by a bar and just be like, thanks for playing a half an hour, here's some money. But
Oh yeah, well I think if you were in a decent, band that was working pretty regular up in the Twin Cities, if you were a player, you'd make like $70 a night.
back then, yeah. So.
And 15 years ago. And so I decided, when I lived up there, I decided I would be a sound guy because that paid $200.
Oh yeah, but then you gotta be there the whole night and make everyone sound good.
Yeah,
There's a lot of pressure involved.
It is.
I'd love to say being a sound guy is easy. It is not.
Oh no.
It's not easy.
No, that's a private hell.
You're dying on an island all by yourself.
Especially if you're bumming somebody out, they're just not getting the sound that they want, and I mean it's gonna happen. I don't care how good you are at it. You cannot please everybody 100% all the time. Not only that, but back then the equipment really still wasn't as good. 15 years ago, just as little as 15 years ago, the minute that we came out with these digital consoles, that really changed everything a lot. We just had so much more control, and now with things being so visual, we can use a GUI and just put your finger on there and EQ something with your finger. You don't have to sit there and go, oh, what frequency is this?
Yeah.
You have an RTA that you can pop up and you can see it right there and know what you're grabbing and know what to get rid of that might be an offensive frequency. And then you can save it.
Yes. Oh, that's the coolest thing about those is like, I got this mixed for us at venue X, and you just save this as venue
Call
X.
it up, yeah.
And then the next time you show up there, you're like, this worked last time, and then you just tweak it a little bit based on slight differences that are going on.
And it's exactly like that. So how we do it, or how I do it, I have a bass setting in my mixer for, let's say, my acoustic show or the band show. And I just recall that. And then when I get into that venue, I'll do tests with microphones, with my guitar. I'll run through frequencies. Mainly it's going to be in the low frequencies. I'm going to find those and get rid of those so that I don't have feedback out of my acoustic.
Yep. Whoa.
Yeah, so that there's hot notes. And then it's kind of the same thing for the vocal. When you get up into the highs, you're going to notch a couple things out.
It's kind of brittle or piercy in certain areas.
Yeah, you're just trying to get that. You're trying to get that out of there. And then really the only thing that band-wise that we have to do, because the drums are going to change, even if our drummer doesn't bring a different kit, the acoustics of the room are going to change some. So we're going to have to make some adjustments in the drums a little bit, probably, just to make sure that they sound right. The guitars and the vocals we don't really ever have to mess with once we have that main EQ set.
So what you're telling me is Scott needs to junk his drum kits and just go completely digital.
Yeah. Can you hear that? Can you hear that, Cocoa Bear?
That's a wild thing, though. I feel like drums digitally are so much better than they used to be, but I still don't think they're anywhere near any other instrument that's been digitized. Like guitar modeling amps sound so much better than a digital drum set, even still. Is it because it's so nuanced or tough to get those proper notes out of a drum set, or?
I think, okay, so I should set this up. I'm a drummer.
Okay, there we go.
That's my first instrument. So I'm definitely a little biased, probably, about that. There are things that you can do with a snare drum, just with a snare drum, so many things that the electronic kits simply can't cover that.
Yeah.
It's not possible. That's just too much information, and it doesn't make sense to try to put that information in there right now. The electronic drums themselves, though, what I notice more so is that they're hyped so hard. Like, you can tell that they put some type of subharmonic frequency on the kick drum.
Okay.
To really beef it up.
Yep.
Where it's just too intense. It doesn't sound like a real kick drum. That's just like speed metal. That's not a real kick drum on there. That's not possible.
With the triggers on it.
Yeah, I mean, because the beater isn't going to touch the head long enough with that to create enough impact. There's no way. No way you'd be able to make that kick drum loud enough with that kind of speed. So you're going to have to trigger it. And that's what I noticed. Like, the snares don't sound natural to me.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of like the ghost notes and things like that, they just won't come out of it because...
No. And you can't do little things. You can't adjust the snare strainer to be either loose or super tight, depending on what you want that thing to sound like. You can't just instantly grab, like on my snare, I can put one of these tone rings, like an E ring on there, or let's say that you put a drum drop on there, a stick-on drum drop. During a song, you can't just grab it and just throw it to the side, and then all of a sudden the snare is open. You don't really have that option unless you get a pad, another pad, and have two snares that are different from each other. Although there are other things that you can do with electronic kits.
I mean, it's pretty much just MIDI, so you could go nuts with it if you really wanted to.
I mean, you can sample stuff. I suppose you could sample your own drum set and do that, but it still would not have that sound. It just wouldn't. I love using a real kit in the studio. I don't foresee a time when I'm going to probably use an electronic kit.
Yeah. I think the best part about them is they're really convenient. Most of the time you can like take them and just fold them up like a rack and set it in the corner, and they're pretty small, you know.
Yeah. Well, things like church gigs, I mean, they're kind of a mainstay there because that's a volume issue. Anytime that there's a volume issue, you're going to see those kind of drum kits.
Yeah.
Well, back when we were on the road, you know, and we're playing some hard rock, we're in some of these clubs and there's volume restrictions. And I remember, you know, we're playing these tunes, and I had to pull out some root sticks, you know, to play with just to drop the volume. And I had to do that the whole week that we were there. And I was like, I hate this job. I want to pound my drums. I could not wait to get to the next gig so I could smack those puppies, you know. That's probably the most frustrating thing about being a drummer is, you know, being told to turn down, you know. I remember I was on the road, we were doing a sound check in Wisconsin, and everything's mic'd, and, you know, we're doing drum tests and getting that done, and there's a drunk out in the audience, and he's complaining, and he's like, turn it down, it's too loud, you know. And we're just trying to get through it. And then he called me a choice name, and I followed him out and confronted him on it. I said, don't ever do that to me again, you know. And that night, that same guy shows up, just tanked, and requests Wipeout.
trying to stick one in your craw there.
Yeah, I just, I gave him the number one sign and said, yeah, that's not happening.
God, that's always the worst. 'Cause I mean, you'll hear that at like, people yell Freebird. That's the one for the guitarist. Freebird!
Oh, yeah. Doug Nickel, that's his favorite, you know, I've got a Freebird for you.
Oh, man. I do think one of the coolest part about like a digital mixer is the fact that you're eliminating a lot of cables and by doing it. You can leave it up on the stage. You no longer have to put the whole entire mixing console in the back of the room and then run cables from the back all the way back to the stage and mics, and there's no more of that nonsense that really has to go on anymore.
Oh yeah, well you don't have outboard gear like compressors and gates to carry around for the drum kits and vocals. You don't have separate effects racks that you need to carry around. So if you've not only have you limited those physical pieces of gear, but you've eliminated all the cabling that goes along with them and the racks themselves. And now a lot of us have switched to in-ears, which also has eliminated a lot of
No
weight.
more monitors up front.
Right.
Yep.
And I think last year is when we finally made the switch to a lot of that stuff. We've been running a digital console, but we went from a traditional digital console to one that just sits in a rack and that you control with a tablet. Mm-hmm. And I figure we eliminated 1,000 pounds of weight, maybe more, out of the trailer. Oh. Plus the amount of time that it is required to set up.
Oh my gosh.
So really, we have two systems that we run. We have a self-powered system, PA, which is a 15-inch speaker sub and then two 10-inch tops. And you would not think that would get it done, but that thing is amazing. And because of the processing and the power that you get through one of these digital mixers, you can eke out a lot more headroom out of a small system. Mm-hmm. So we have that system. So it's just roll the mixer in, plug into it, run the tie lines to the powered system, mm-hmm. and fire it up. Do a quick EQ check, and go.
Yep.
The other system is a bigger system, and we didn't even use it last year. Now that system's 8,000 watts of power, and we never pulled it out once. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. But that's a separate set of power amps.
Yeah, it's a whole.
But it's still, it's only a couple more cables, honestly. Mm-hmm. It's just the weight factor, because like the subs are 200 pounds a piece.
I'm only in my early 30s and I'm tired of carrying around heavy stuff, you know?
I don't want to carry it.
I get it, man. I have a bass cab that literally weighs, I think in the manual it says it weighs 98 pounds. Yeah. And it's just a bass cabinet for a bass guitar. And I mean, they sell for a lot of money, but nobody around here wants to buy it from me just for the simple fact that it weighs so much.
Oh, you can't get rid of a 412 cab right now.
Yeah, it's pretty tough, yeah. I never thought I'd see the day where like Marshall 412 cabinets would be like, oh, it's $250, $300, and it's like, this thing's got full of Celestians.
Look here, that's the kind of stuff I use. I mean, I've always used, even I've got a crank amp over here, and it's just single 12s.
Yeah, it's pretty nice though. I mean, you really don't need much more.
No, because you're micing everything usually. That helps. I mean, it's more set up. You got to run a mic to here and a mic to there, but mm-hmm. You get more control over your sound. It helps keeps your stage volume down. Mm-hmm. In the band that I'm in, the other guitar player, Bruce, he puts his amplifier, or not his amplifier, but his speaker cabinet inside a case mm-hmm. to eliminate that sound being on the stage. In certain places. Yep. If we can get away with it and just have the cabinet open, it certainly would be better. Mm-hmm. And so we'll do that. I think our last gig, we got up to, we were up at Humboldt mm-hmm. at the North Iowa Dragway.
Oh yeah, did that end up going?
No, it did not. We got
it rained.
They were just super nice people. We got up there, got on the trailer. We're setting up right next to the drag lanes, and watching these cars take off, and it was just so awesome. And of course, there was times, we couldn't see anything, or let alone breathe.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But it was really cool. So we sat up, and the gal that's in the booth doing the announcing, she's talking about the band, and she's, just excited to have us there and pumping everybody up, And finally, we're supposed to start at 10. Finally, the drags get done. We're all ready to go. 15 minutes before we're supposed to start, our drummer goes, "Hey, look at this."
And I looked at it, it was the smallest but reddest dot on the, and it was heading right for
5 miles,
and
5 miles away. We're like, oh crap. So.
And it poured, because I'm.
It didn't pour where we were.
Really?
It rained some, but it was we didn't know what to do. So me and the guy that hired us, we got together, we're standing there, and like we're trying to figure out what should we do. All of a sudden, a bolt of lightning hits right by us. We're like, okay, well that's it. Pack it up. Pack it up. So we tore it down really quick and shoved it in there, and then we just stood around and talked for about the next hour after we packed the trailer, and we're just so bummed.
Oh my
Didn't
God.
get to play, but they were so kind. They were so kind, and they booked us for they booked us back there August 28th.
Cool.
So
I think that's one of the neat things. Like Humboldt County's got a dragway still. That's pretty sweet, you know.
it
Like,
is. I don't know. I think I'm gonna find some time to go up there when I'm not playing.
Oh yeah, actually enjoy yourself instead of hauling gear around.
Yeah. Well, the sad thing is I won't get as good a seat.
Oh yeah.
Right next to right next to the lanes themselves. It was kind of funny though. For us to set up, we had to actually be in the lanes that they take you over in to go drag race, and then back the trailer in, and so we were thinking about taking the trailer down.
Just make a pass once for fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one of the other crazy things. Like, you don't play a whole lot of, like, I would call them just bar shows anymore. A lot of your shows are usually outdoor, akin to an event, or like a weekend at a winery. They're gonna have something going on, and then they have music, and you guys are there for 3-4 hours or something. Those are a lot of the shows you play now. So even though bars are open and have music in them now, that's not really. I'm not saying that's not your scene, but that's not your major area where you play now. So a lot of your shows have been canceled just due to the fact that street dances for certain towns have been canceled and things like that. And like, how's all that shaken down for you? How do you feel about that?
I think that when the wineries and the breweries came in, I think that changed the whole live music dynamic in many areas of the country. We're here in Iowa, of course. For us here where we're living, it really kind of overtook the bars.
Yeah.
As far as live music. A lot of bars aren't really set up for live music. It's just an afterthought, but many of these other places are really gearing towards that. For instance, one venue here in town has built a stage.
Ooh,
but
nice.
they always intended on doing something. And they've made slow, steady progress. They're going to be putting in lighting now.
Oh, cool.
They have a sound system there. They even went as far as they listened to advice from many people. They put in sound deadening.
Oh, cool.
So that's really helped the acoustics, which is really nice to see. One of the wineries even did the same thing. They figured out how to get the room to quiet down, because they use that room not only as the place that they entertain the people, but when people aren't in there in those other hours, that's where they make the wine.
Yep.
So those places seem to really have it together on that. Some of the more traditional bars that have eateries in them, they'll have music.
Yep.
Sometimes, but they're probably more geared for solo acoustic music.
Yep.
A lot of times. Now we are playing a bar this weekend on the 13th, and that's at Sneakers.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Or not Sneakers, pardon me. Back that up. Community Pizza.
Still cool.
Yeah, on the 13th. I believe this is for some type of cancer benefit.
Nice.
But
Nice.
it will be outside.
Oh, cool.
So
They got that big parking lot there and everything.
yeah, I don't know if she's going to have us in their pavilion there, or if she's going to have us out on the sidewalk. I'm kind of hoping we'll be outside on the sidewalk, because you could fit a lot more people that way. I don't know if they've got that straightened out with the city or not. Well, I guess we'll find out. But that's really been about it. The rest has just been the winery kind of thing. But now with the COVID thing, a lot of that's gone. Right now, most of the breweries that I played at, they're still not having any entertainment.
Yep.
So any gigs that are coming in right now, I'm really thankful for.
Yeah. I mean, like, I've played a couple shows at a couple bars since everything started back up, But, it's still one of those situations. Some bands don't want to play at the current moment because of one reason or another. You've got some bars that are, well, we'll open up, but I don't want to have music in here. We're just going to slowly get back to normal instead of, just going balls to the wall right off the bat, And,
Right.
Some people go to bars to just drink, and music's not their thing
Not
they
their
go
thing.
for.
Yeah.
You can. The first show I had back at a place, when the bars opened, there's a guy heckling there, and he's just like, "They just opened the bars. You guys are already in here," and it's just like, you end up with a situation.
Really?
The guy didn't want to hear live music.
Where was this at?
I almost don't want to say.
No,
but,
it's okay.
I've only played it at one place since everything's open, so it wouldn't be hard to do your research.
Okay, yeah.
But it was a patron at a bar, and he ended up riding a cab home instead of driving his car home by the request of everybody that was there. So you could tell he was pretty tuned up. But it was just one of those things where, even though everything's kind of back to normal, some things aren't quite back to normal.
Oh, it's not back to normal. I don't think in any sense of the word, but I've had club owners in particular write me apologizing to have to cancel the gig because they're not ready. Mm-hmm. They either are not ready because they're not comfortable with it, or they're still waiting on the cleaning supply. Mm-hmm. That's been an issue, I know. One gal just apologized over herself, and I wrote her back. I said, "You don't need to apologize to me."
Yeah, everyone's flying by the seat of their pants right now. Nobody knows what's going on.
This is unprecedented, and my own store, my music store, has been closed since the beginning of this, mm-hmm. and as of right now, we're just open for business through appointment only. Mm-hmm. I don't intend to go off of that until after the summer, mm-hmm. because there's not enough of us working right now, which means sales are going to be way down. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've got vendors right now that want to sell me stuff at crazy discounted rates.
It'd be nice, but then you don't have anybody to sell it to.
Yeah, I mean, why would I buy that now and have it become old stock?
Yeah, because you never know. Like we said, everything's turning over so fast now. A year down the road, what you're getting from them might be obsolete. Would be maybe not obsolete, but it's now the second. There's a third gen out. You have the second gen in your shop, and
exactly. So I told her, I said, just because these places are willing to be open suddenly and are just because they're ready to be back open doesn't mean that people are going to come.
Yeah, true.
And I've already seen that firsthand where they didn't show. Mm-hmm. But at another place, we played a venue and we were outside, and they did come. Mm-hmm. We had a great crowd. Yeah. And I think we were due for a really good crowd over here at the Dragway as well, but of course that didn't happen. And back to what you were saying about, we were talking about something that's obsolete and nothing flat. There's so many products that are like that. That's what's also been kind of nice about some of the digital mixers that have come out. Like, of course, I'm using Soundcraft as my example because I just happen to have one. The nice thing about that is that they were coming out with updates. So basically, you were getting a new mixer for nothing. Yeah, every year.
The coolest part about that is not just updating the software, but also the firmware within the unit itself. And that's pretty sweet. When it can do that. If somebody's, it takes a lot of intuitive thought though on their part to be like, we have enough hardware here to do all this crazy stuff. Even if some of it's not applicable yet, we'll have a firmware update that'll utilize it later.
The only thing I worry about with that, and I'm only half joking, is that will become like the iPhone, where they start giving you software. They'll update this firmware only to make your unit not want to cooperate, so that you've got to get a new one.
The classic iPhone 6 situation.
Yeah, well, heck, I still have a 4S.
Oh man, I skip every few years. I think I had a 3 and then I had a 6, and now I got the 10 or whatever.
Now, if I ever get a new one, eventually I'll probably have to. Well, my wife will kill me if I don't, but no.
It is right though. Like some of these, they got obviously they got in trouble for doing that, but it could happen accidentally, where they're not planning the obsolescence, where they say, well, here's this new firmware update, and you don't know, it might make your hardware react kind of weird with one another.
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue with the iPhones was the battery. It caused the batteries to process way faster, and it caused them to bulge a little bit inside of the phone.
No, I think what I see in the future for some of this stuff, and I don't doubt, well, it's just like with audio software, for instance, Audition and Pro Tools, you don't own it.
You're almost like
you're
renting
leasing it. Yeah, you're leasing it, and if you want to continue that, then they have you continue to pay. Now with what I have, the Personas, you can just buy it, and they'll update you, and then eventually they won't, and then you have to buy the new version. And I get that, but I can see a time where, like with digital consoles, where they would go, okay, well, you've got your digital console. If you want the latest thing, you're going to have to pay.
Yeah.
Let's say you got to pay $15 for, the latest update or whatever. I could see somebody trying to do that. Now, whether that would work, that depends on the people.
Yep.
The feeling like you'd have to prove that your update was worth having.
Yeah, exactly. You have to. I mean, it could be like the most menial thing they're updating, and they're like, "It's great, $10, please." And you're like, "It doesn't change anything on my end. I don't even use the feature you're updating anyways, so what difference does it make?" And
that, or it starts to become glitchy because they're not taking care of problems. That's the reason I switched over to this new software, Studio One. I had been on Audition for years, and I had started with them when they were Cool Edit Pro. So I was used to that way of working. But I realized that, in reading their forum, that they weren't taking care of issues that they were having in the software. They were still having problems with it. And I went, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, you can see where this is headed.
Yeah, I'm not gonna buy that. It's time for me to find something new. So, and I'm really glad of the choice that I made, because this I know a number of guys that have this, and now I can work with them passing audio back and forth. So what do you have planned? Do you have another gig coming up?
Oh gosh, I don't think we have any more gigs booked at the moment. The metal band I'm in is kind of not playing shows right now.
Yeah.
We were like in the middle of maybe recording something, but everybody got so busy that we're kind of just sweep it to the side for a while, because that was a very labor-intensive thing. It was lots of fast notes, a lot of articulation, harmonies, and nonsense. So it takes a lot to up your chops and actually be good standing next to the people you're standing next to. So like I said, that kind of just got swept to the side. Punk band's still going. We got an album we recorded. We're
cool.
Working on getting it on a vinyl so we can sell it. Otherwise, like a lot of the singles you can hear on probably your local radio station, wherever you're listening to this in Iowa. We sent it out to almost every one of them that had a show that would play local tunes, and almost every single one of them has played us. So thanks everybody. But it's kind of neat, to hear your stuff on the radio and realize you kind of fit into the scene a little bit, and
that's really cool.
People in Eastern Iowa hear your stuff and say, "Hey, I heard you on the radio. It's pretty sweet," And
is it easy to sell LPs like records?
I don't know.
You don't know? I don't know either.
My suggestion was nobody buys physical media anymore, so why make it?
Yeah.
But a lot of people have argued against that. They said, well, you'd be surprised. We didn't have a CD for 3 years, then we finally came out with one and people just gobbled it up. And it was like, okay, I guess. So we'll see. There's a big comeback with LPs, so maybe that'll be something to be said for that. But
well, what's cool about it, though, is the artwork. Usually if you're going to have an LP, you're going to have a lot of artwork on there.
We went that route. We paid an artist to render images for us for the front and back and high detail, and so we've got all that stuff going on.
Yeah, Surf Zombies, they had an LP. In fact, I think an old friend of mine, a kid that I grew up playing with, I think he did the colorizing of that album, or had something to do with the artwork, and he's also a cartoonist himself. His name's Billy Heller.
Okay.
You should check him out sometime.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
He lives in Cedar Rapids.
Nice.
So yeah, he's played with a lot of different people. He's a killer guitar player.
It's awesome.
So
that's the other thing. The more of these I do, the more I realize I don't know. There's so many killer guitar and musicians, drummers. I'm never gonna be able to get to all of them by the time I'm done doing this.
We've got to get Bruce Borchers.
Yeah. Because I mean, we did the whole band one with everybody that's in Kris Karr band. Kind of got the basic story of everybody, and then how you all got together. That was the gist of that. But I mean, it'd be great to be able to sit down and talk with people. But I mean, even with like coronavirus going on now, it's tough to be able to. It's tough to be like, hey, can I come to your house and interview you? Or do you trust me being in your house? And different people are in different ages, different areas of health, different mindsets about what's going on and everything. And some people are like, no. And other people are like, yeah, and
It's tough. There are people that are still not comfortable. I've had people tell me that we wanted to come to your show, but I'm too afraid to go out.
And justifiably so, based on the fact that...
I mean, I've also had, we tried to invite a number of different people here, and I was turned down because they were afraid of, they had autoimmune issues. Mm-hmm. And I can't do anything about that. I myself have been tested for it and don't have it, for what that's worth. Yeah. But I don't know what to think of it, and
there's not enough information to make a.
I'm not gonna push anybody on it. I don't have a feeling one way or the other. I guess I'm just kind of watching what's happening, and.
But that's the benefit of doing the live streams. You give the ability to people that are not comfortable to go out into public. You still give them the ability to hear you and see you, which is really nice, And like you said earlier, there's some people that even if COVID never happened, still wouldn't go out to a show based on the fact that they can't or shouldn't or have health problems or they broke their leg and they can't get out of bed or just something like that. And so it actually gives them the ability to sit down and watch it, which is a really neat thing.
Well, like my own band too. When this all went down, we didn't have a place to play, so this was at least like having a gig.
Yeah.
And we treated it like we set up lights, and we just treated it just like a normal gig. And I just said, just pretend they're sitting right in front of you. Mm-hmm. And the same thing for the guys that came and played here. Well, we had Rod Johnson here.
Oh, yep.
And he was really nervous about doing it, but he did a great job. We had Dr. Paul Vada here, and they loved him. We got a lot of compliments on his show. And I asked him, I said, would you consider coming back? And he said, yeah, so we might do that. I don't know what we're going to do from here forward. Just like everything with the country right now that's going on, I just have to play it one day at a time.
Yep.
And just see what's happening.
When all this started happening and I saw that you and other people had started doing live streaming, I initially thought, you're ruining what you've worked so hard for.
It made me wonder,
because what you have is you're an amazing musician. You're well enough known around the area, the people that know you around the area and surrounding towns, so they would be willing to go see you play live. But if you're just giving it to them all for free in the comfort of their own homes right there on the internet,
are they going to be willing to go out?
And I was just like, no, everyone's doing this. They're ruining something. And then I didn't realize it's actually people are more likely to tip. Oh, here's $1, even if it's just $1, $2, $5.
Yeah.
I mean, you're actually you're still generating money. People are still thankful for it. They're still showing you how thankful they are by giving you money. The benefit is they don't have to drive to a bar. They don't have to buy $5 drinks and then try to find a way to. Well, I hope this person's getting paid enough, and I'll put $1 in the tip jar, I guess. But I've already spent $20 today. There's none of that going on now. So. Well,
it's tip money. As far as what they gave. People tipped us through Venmo and PayPal, and of course this is a learning curve for me. In our case, we'd ring the cowbell every time somebody tipped us.
I loved just the fun concepts like that. Made me smile.
I can see that they don't tip as much now because some things have kind of gone back to normal, and frankly, if they were tipping and they were out of work.
Ooh, yeah.
I told them, I said, if this goes on pretty long, the tips are not going to be there. They're not going to have the money to be able to do that. So I think in the end, irregardless of whether they tip or not, we need an audience and they need entertainment.
Yeah.
And so eventually all of this will go back to normal. It's a different kind of normal maybe. I don't know what to expect. I don't think anybody really knows what to expect because this has just not happened before ever. So I'm gonna just do a little bit at a time, keep my eye on it. And basically right from the get-go it was just reacting to what was happening. And that's all I'm doing now is just sort of reacting. Now the last couple weeks I haven't really had much out there because I've been reacting to us going back to playing, thinking, well, this probably is the tail end of that. But I don't think it is.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so.
I feel like you could get away with doing, like you said, something once a week, even if it's just a half an hour, even if it's just you sitting here alone. You could bring someone in, whatever, you know. And it's I think there's a way to go about doing exactly what you're doing because the video and audio is high quality enough that it's not. People don't feel like that you've cheapened the experience at all.
Well, it's advertising too.
Yeah.
Essentially, you're advertising yourself, and if somebody, let's say from Eastern Iowa, happens to see me on one of these programs, they may hire me at their venue, and so there's a gig.
Yep.
You know, because you can do certain things. I mean, you're still giving entertainment through this medium, but it's really not the same thing as actually being there in a live gig situation. Because when I'm in a live gig situation and there are people in front of me and they're talking and I can hear them, I can interrupt them and make them part of the show.
Yep.
And try to bring them in and try to get everybody having fun. And that's the part that's missing a little bit with doing it on a television camera. Because you have to understand, I'm 59 years old, so it's like we're on TV.
Yep.
it's just weird to say that, but because you could not. That's how much things have changed. You could not be on TV whenever you wanted to.
Yep.
If you got lucky, you got to be on like a telethon or something.
Yep.
You know, that was a big deal. But now really anybody can go on here. There's a lot of questions. It's like, is this going to continue? Will we be able to do this and possibly make money? Will we be able to do this, put these series of performances out, and will people hire us? And also, by doing this, will they come to know our original music? And I think that right there, that point is really important.
Yep.
I think this medium is a really positive thing because for the first time, we're going to be able to get our original music out to a larger number of people than ever before because now we're on the same playing field as a large-scale artist.
Yeah. Yeah.
More so than ever before.
Yeah.
Because they're not able to go out and do their concerts. So people are looking for new music and they're finding it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I am. I tell you what, between all of these live stream sites, in particular on Facebook, because that's the medium I'm on.
Yep.
I think I belong to, I don't know, probably 10 or 11 different pages.
Yep.
And so not only do I put my stuff on there, but I go and watch other artists.
Yep.
And it's really cool to see some of these different people. There's some very talented people out there.
It's pretty mind-blowing because, like you said, on some of those you can see people singing and playing a piano, and there's almost none of that goes on at bars around here, you know. That's not something that gets hired for a Saturday night show, but it's still super cool, and I would never get the opportunity to see that unless somebody did it independently and put it online, and that's really neat, you know.
Yeah.
Or like you said, somebody playing a ukulele, a bass, and a looper and stuff, and is this person going to get hired at a bar? Maybe, maybe not, but they're doing it online live, and it's really cool. So it's kind of neat that you get to see that you wouldn't normally have.
Oh yeah, well, and I think in this process you are gaining a lot of knowledge my own streams, like I've learned how to use OBS, and the things that I'm doing are very simple. I'm learning how to pan cameras and get close-up shots, etc. Program those in so that they can just be hit. The other thing too is that you can put text on there and different pieces of artwork. In the case of like Trevor,
Oh yeah.
it's amazing what he's done with his junk food jam. I watched that the other day, and he's just got this nice layout over the top.
Yeah, it looked like a box of Oreos.
Yeah.
It was so awesome.
Yeah, he did a great job with it. I mean, that's really amazing, and he's just doing it out of his home.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really cool, is to see the different ways that people are doing it, and we all of us are learning from it.
Yeah.
I think it's just positive for live music and original music.
Yeah,
very
definitely.
much so.
So I'm assuming if people want to watch any of these, the place to do it is your Facebook profile.
For now, yes.
But you do share it in all of the groups on Facebook, like the Eastern Iowa and even the Audible Farm group. So if you want to get in the Audible Farm group, I see you sharing them in there too. But
yes.
All the Iowa live music places and stuff, I've seen, I've interacted with a lot of the people that kind of do the same thing I do, where they kind of try and pump up the musicians in their area. And a lot of them are starting to take notice of things that are going on in different areas. Some of them peek into my group and see what's going on and share it into their group, and it's it now makes it from the northern Iowa area over to the Waterloo and Iowa City area.
Right.
It's kind of neat to see all that happening, and I think this actually created a lot more networking than people actually originally thought it would.
Oh, definitely.
Because everyone's locked in a vacancy, and all you have to do is get on your phone and look at Facebook.
Well, and people like you with your show, I'm really grateful for it. I enjoy listening to your interviews. You do a great job. And thanks for providing us a place to put our stuff.
Yep.
It does mean a lot to all of us. And it's nice to have somebody in this area that we know.
Yeah.
At least for us locally here.
Yep.
People like yourself and Bob Minter.
Yeah.
You guys are highly valued by us. We really appreciate it.
I love me some Bob. There's a handful of people I can point at and be like, these people were the inspiration for me to do what I'm doing, and Bob is obviously one of those people.
Yeah.
When I first joined a punk band and I got a hold of him and said, hey, I'm in a punk band, here's some songs, he could have just as easily ignored me and said, take a hike there, Junior. But he loves it so much.
He loves music. He just, he involves himself in it. It's in him. He just wants it. It's all part of him. Mm-hmm. And I think he does great interviews.
Yes, his interviews are really good.
And he's an entertaining individual anyway.
I interviewed him once, and he opens up with some of the greatest stuff ever. If you haven't heard it, go back and listen to the Bob Minter interview I did.
Yeah.
Like 60 episodes ago, but that was a fun one, because actually that day I donated a guitar I built, and then did an interview with Mason on the Regional Rock Hour, and then drove all the way to Bob's house and did an interview with him. And I was, I had like school work and then did all that stuff, and I was gone for like almost 24 hours straight by the time I got home. But it was just like, this is insane. It was so fun. It was worth it. He's just such a fun guy, fun loving, always willing to listen to what other musicians are doing. It's really great.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So check out Kris's stuff. You got Kris Karr Band. That's a Facebook page you've got for that.
Yep.
You've also got your own profile, which is where most of the videos will end up. But like I said, if you want to go to those Facebook groups or the Audible Farm group, he shares them in there all the time. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, shoot him a friend request. Maybe he'll add you, maybe not. Otherwise, like I said, it's going to be, you have to go to those groups to definitely be able to see it. It'll be there for sure. So
yeah.
I love what you're doing. Keep it up.
Thank you.
I don't want you to stop. I mean, like I said, when I first started, I was like, "You're ruining everything," and then all of a sudden, it's like, "Don't stop! Don't stop what you're doing. It's too cool to stop." So, I really appreciate it.
I don't know. Maybe we need to have you guys here.
Oh yeah, if you want a punk band in here, we could do it.
Hey.
I don't know. I mean, I still think it'd be great to put it all on its own independent Facebook page instead of your personal profile. But I'm not running the show, and
there's reasons I haven't done that. I will tell you off air. It's not crazy or anything.
Yeah.
I just did some certain things.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yep.
So, I'll put links down below to everything I can find that is Kris's online. So check him out. Hit him up for a gig if you guys are doing gigs. Maybe he'll come out and do a gig with you. Yep. And yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks you very much. I really appreciate it. That was good. Was that 2 hours?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was 2 hours. That was a good 2-hour episode. That was like one of the first super long episodes I had. I absolutely loved sitting down talking with him. Eventually, we just had to end it there somewhere. Otherwise, we would have just kept talking, I'm sure. That's a really good one. I'm going to have some updated links down below for Kris to check him out, see where you can find him. I know he's got Facebook, and I know he's got a website, and I know he keeps both of them fairly current. So at least the Facebook is very, very, very updated. So whether it's his personal music or his band's page, I know they're out there playing shows, so check them out. It is an absolute must. I didn't mention it in the intro, but another good thing about this episode was, I'm seeing a lot more people polishing off their video game, and that's something I never really got too into, unfortunately. I've just been too busy, or whatever. Just here's my excuse. I should have just done it and made a setup and had it and made it easy, but it's tough when you're one person. You got to produce all this stuff yourself. It's tough to set up the interviews and do all the everythings, but hey, who's complaining here? Whatever. The whole point of that was I've seen this big influx of not just bands, but online personalities and everyone kind of upping their game when it comes to video. And I think that was a direct correlation, due to unfortunately due to COVID. And this episode was recorded when it was weird because that was when the restrictions had lifted and all this other stuff. So depending on where you lived, and this is, whatever. But so we had sat down and talked, face to face, but we were talking a lot about OBS and doing things with different softwares to kind of merge your music and video together. And it would be really fun to set something up like that for a music venue. And I don't know why some music venues don't utilize that in some capacity still, but doesn't mean they have to. I mean, I understand the reason why some of them wouldn't want to an extent. You don't want to give it away for free, but you can put it behind a paywall or something. There's something you can do with that. I still feel it's a valuable tool, and I'm gonna have to go off memory here. I don't know who was there, but I believe it's XBK. Is that the name of the venue in Des Moines that's somewhat new? And I saw them, they posted a video online, and great, sounded great, looked great. Hey, venues, I think they should do it. Nice looking little venue. I think I should check it out sometime. I've never been there, and maybe I should swing down there sometime when I got some free time and I'm in Des Moines, and maybe you should too. They're not paying me to say this because, quite frankly, I've never been there. So I just think it's looked interesting online, and kind of brought up a good point when it comes back to video and all that kind of stuff. So speaking of which, there is going to be a music video dropping tomorrow. Well, the song is dropping tomorrow. I believe the music video might be a week later, but Jesse Wilson has a song coming out, My Girl, My World. You should check it out. I play guitar in his band when he plays live, so it would be tons of fun to check that one out. I did not play on the studio version of the track, but like I said, you can catch me playing with him live. I know he's going to be playing some shows, so check him out online. I know I've done an episode or two with him. I got all his links in those episodes, so check those out if you guys are interested in that. Otherwise, like I said, that music video is going to be coming out for that soon, and I'm in the music video, so that's going to be, hey, what do I tell you here? It's going to be pretty cool, so check it out. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a good video. It comes back down to bands making music videos. Hey, you guys got music videos? Let me know. Post them somewhere, and I'll try and find them. Drop them in that Audible Farm group. Join the Audible Farm group on Facebook. Also, check out the YouTube. There's tons of good stuff on the YouTube. I'm still getting some of my guitar videos have comments that still roll in with people saying like, this is cool, I'm bookmarking this, what do I do in this situation? And it's just kind of fun to have people still interacting with the YouTube page in some fashion or another. So if you guys want to interact with the YouTube page, check it out. It's really fun to have, like I said, to have people post questions on there to say, hey, this is a cool episode or whatever, or, you know, go back and watch the band videos that I had recorded when I kind of first started Audible Farm. And that's, you know, that could be a thing to check out too. So there's all sorts of stuff on there, tons of views. Just keep rolling in on all of the back catalogs on there. So thank you very much for watching the podcast, I guess listening on YouTube. And thank you to the Patreon patrons for watching. Unfortunately, this week there is no video version of this, because even though we spent the whole time on the podcast talking about video and things like that, I did not do video at that time. But the crazy fun thing was, not too long after that, I started doing video for the podcast, which kind of opened up a can of worms, but it also kind of helped out a little bit. It made a Patreon page where people can watch the video versions for $1 a month. So if you guys have $1 a month and you guys want to watch video versions of the podcast, check it out. There's a link down below. Audible Farm on Patreon. Like I said, unfortunately this week there isn't one, because I think this might have been what spurred me to kind of start doing video. Was talking to Kris about it so much, you know, and yeah, so check it out, Patreon. Otherwise, all the Audible Farm links are at audiblefarm.com. That's where you can find all the Audible Farm goodies. Hey, we're over 2 hours in. I'm sure you're ready for something new. So I'm gonna check out, and I will check you guys out next week with a new guest. All right, peace.